طيب.
And the woman complain, oh,
Clear.
when they get jealous. And
Crystal clear. Crystal clear. Allah talks about the huris, hurulin, the women of Jannah, these beautiful maidens, these buxom, this is a reality. وَكَوَاعِبَ أَتْرَابًا. Quran, he says this. وَكَوَاعِبَ أَتْرَابًا. These buxom women, these busty maidens in paradise that men will have. And it's not mentioned that women will have a man with muscles or a man who's handsome. It's not mentioned. So it's two ways of looking at it. And this is one of the main doubts that people use against Islam. They use this. And they say that Islam is unfair and it's oppressive. Okay, no problem. So the first way is what I've just said. We are servants. We are slaves. We accept that Allah has given a man certain things that he has not given a woman. And there's a difference between justice and a difference between equality. And they are not the same. Justice and equality are not the same. And people, they mix the two. Justice is one thing. Equality is another. Make a simple image in your head, a vision. Imagine a picket fence. And imagine on the other side of the picket fence, there's a baseball game or a softball game. And you have two sons who want to see the softball game. And you walk them to the edge of the fence and you say, go ahead, you guys can look at the game. One of your children is 5 feet tall, and one of your children is 4 feet and 5 inches tall. The fence is 4 feet and 9 feet tall off of the ground. They're both standing, wishing to look at the softball game. Obviously, the 5-foot child can see the softball game, and the one who's 4'5" cannot see the softball game unless they pull themselves up, climb up, or whatever they can do. Is that justice or equality or neither of the two? Which of the two is that? Is that equality? Is that equal?
It's equality.
No, it's not equality. How is it equality? He can't see. It's not equal. They said, Father, Abby, can we go and try to see the softball game from behind the fence? Go ahead. Me allowing them to walk over there is called what?
Justice.
That's justice. I was just. I gave them a fair opportunity to see the game. One is naturally shorter than the other. One is naturally taller than the other. That is equality or not? That's not equality. It's not. He can see the game because he's 5 feet tall. The fence is how tall? 4 feet and 9 inches. The one who's 4 feet and 5 inches cannot what? See the game. But they're both standing on equal ground. And they both have the same opportunity to see the game. Allah made you taller, He made you shorter. Justice and equality are two different concepts. I have a 17-year-old son and I have a 10-year-old son. Do I have to give them the same amount of allowance? Of course not. A son who's in college and a son who's in middle school, they don't get the same allowance. That's justice or equality. He gets $50, hypothetically speaking, and he gets $150. Justice or equality? It's not equality, but it's definitely what? Justice. For him to be in middle school or elementary school and get $50, that's a lot of money, hypothetically speaking. I was just to both of them. But his needs are bigger, more, and greater than the one who's younger. So justice and equality, sometimes they're parallel in Islam. Jannah, both sexes going to paradise. That's equal. That's just. Men having hurul, women not having men of their desires is not necessarily equality. But Allah did not oppress you. Allah did not wrong you. You have no right that Allah deserves you. You didn't have to go to Jannah. Allah put you in the paradise. Some of the ulama of Islam, they say that the jinn will not go to paradise. Many scholars hold the view that the Muslim jinn, the jinn who are believers, shall not go to Jannah. They will be forgiven and they will be protected from the fire. وَيُجِرْكُمْ, it says. Allah will protect you from the fire. And it does not state that they will go to Jannah. Many ulama, they say that on the day of judgment, after the judgment is made, the righteous Muslim jinn will be turned into dust. They shall not go into paradise. Only humans will go into Jannah. Is that fair to them? Humans go to Jannah and jinn don't? Allah does not punish them. They were righteous. They don't go to the hellfire. Them going to Jannah is a virtue. That's a gift that they don't. Oh, Allah doesn't owe them that. But He never oppressed them. He didn't send them to the hellfire and they prayed and they did the things that they were supposed to do in their legislation. So they have this concept of God owes us something. Allah owes me. It's not right. It's not fair. Who are you to say that? Let alone the fact that justice and equality are not always the what? The same. That is a myth. That's a myth. And people who call to that progressive understanding, they're not telling the truth. They're upon that myth as well. Everything is not going to be equal in the world. That's not true. That's not right. The Prophet ﷺ was asked, Man ahaqqu nasi bi husni sahabati. Who deserves my good treatment the best? What did the Prophet say? Your father and mother? What did he say? Your father and mother? What did he say? Your mother. Okay, no problem. Then next is who? Your mother. Then next is who? Your mother. Thumma abuka. Then your father. So women, hypothetically speaking of this hadith, they deserve 3 times more good treatment than a father. How is that fair? Did you impregnate yourself? Who took care of you when you were pregnant? Who paid the hospital bills? Who paid your insurance? The food cravings that you had for 9 months, who bought them for you? The couch you're just sitting on. The person who drove you to the hospital came from whose pocket? Mine. So how is it fair that the child has to give you 3 times more good treatment than me? It's not my job to make that decision. That's the rule. And the same applies to men getting things in paradise and women not getting things in paradise. Clear on that? Number 2 is the traditional or orthodox conventional answer. Man amina, those who do good deeds, min dhakarin aw untha, male or female. Allah says, فَلَنُحْيَنَّهُ حَيَاةً طَيِّبَةً وَلَنَجْزِيَنَّهُمْ أَجْرَهُم. Allah says that we will give them a good life and we will give them the best rewards of the best deeds, etc. That answer is correct, male and female, but in my opinion, that's not a strong answer because it's still technically unfair. Men will have a good life, men will get the reward from Allah, and so will women. But it clearly states that men will get kawa'ib atraban. Men will have 2 women of paradise as default, let alone the hurun. Okay, it's still unfair. So that answer isn't that what? It's not that strong. The bottom line is, women who are righteous will go to paradise. Women who are righteous will be rewarded. They're protected from the fire of hell. بِمَا فَضَّلَ اللَّهُ بَعْضُهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. And Allah gave men something more that He did not give to women. It's the bottom line. You accept it, alhamdulillah. You don't accept it, ma'asalama. Wallahi, it's that simple. That's the top and the bottom line, let alone the fact that scholars of Islam and scholars outside of Islam, they have explicitly, and we're not going to mention details of this, they say that it is totally illogical and irrational and unnatural for a woman to be in a relationship with more than one man at the same time. They say it is against the mind, it's against the spirit, and it's against the anatomy of the body of the woman. In total contrast to that of the man. In total contrast to that of the man. The woman's body is not made for multiple sexual partners in one time period. The man's body is made for multiple sexual partners in one period. That is the truth. A basic concept of this is, if a man had more than one husband, what will she do when she has to give her husband his rights and she's menstruating? Like we just said. What is she going to say? You can't have intercourse with me tonight because I'm menstruating. But a man is not, and a man does not what? A man does not menstruate. So hypothetically speaking, he sees his wife and he sees his next wife. Whether they have different nights or whether he goes to more than one in one night with the permission of the first wife. His body has the ability to do that. Her body does not. She becomes pregnant. She sleeps with one husband. Then she goes to another husband. And they both have the same type of traditional intercourse. Whose baby is it? Who impregnated her? Was it my first husband? Was it my second husband? Was it my third husband? Or was it my fourth husband? Or was it my right-hand possession that I had sex with? This is reality. Can you say the same about a man? Yes or no? No. The man, the woman knows I have one husband, one sexual partner. I'm pregnant. I didn't get my menstruation this month. And it's your baby. The next woman, wife number 2. I'm pregnant. I didn't get my menstruation. I'm sick. My ankles are swollen. I'm throwing blood in the morning. I took the pregnancy test. It is your baby. Wife number 3. She says it's what? Your baby. I only had sex with one man. Wife number 4 says what? Your baby. This right hand possession says it is your baby. You can't say that about a woman. And this is basic anatomy of the human body. Nothing to do with faith. And the concept of preservation of genealogy is one of the most important principles of the Sharia. Hifdhul ansab, to preserve genealogy. Whose child is it? A woman goes into the hospital, she goes into a clinic, she gets a test, she takes a DNA test. I've had brothers who've worked in the hospital, said there was one woman who had the trace of semen of 23 men within 72 hours. Within 72 hours, the trace of 23 different men she slept with. How does that make any sense? There's no problem with a woman who has one husband. It's your child. And that's why the ulama of Islam, they say, is that a man is not allowed to deny the child being his, even if it wasn't enough time. And if he was away, and if he was fighting in a lost cause, he comes back, it's your child. It's your child. Unless you accuse her of being unchaste and you make the mula'ana. And that's because the asl is that it is your water. The asl is that it's your tilth. It's your farmland. And that's because the woman is only to have what? One husband. And that is totally contrast to that of the what? Of the man. And which a man can spread seed, sow seed. He can water more than one tilth and more than one time. Basic anatomy. Are we making this up or not? It's not the same. So these people who claim to be natural, they claim to be original, claim to be organic, they claim to be following, they're hypocrites. And they're liars. And they're ignorant. They're hypocrites, they're liars, and they are ignorant. They're not being honest with you. Not about the text of the Quran and Sunnah, nor about common sense, nor about basic, simple science. It's basic, simple science. If you can answer that and prove that that's wrong, as Muhammad Hijab said, he says, and I'll be an atheist. Not saying that I would say that, but proving the strength of his argument. He knew that that was the strongest punch that the atheist couldn't answer. And that's why he made that statement. If you can prove that wrong, I'll be an atheist today. So explain how a woman's body is made to be with more than one man at the same time. And debunk and debase how a man's body is made and designed to be with more than one woman at more than one time. Explain that. And if you can't explain that and accept that, then maybe you should be a submissive servant. And Allah knows best.